10 crazy facts about camels you'll never guess what the number 1 fact is. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. In the comments below, list one topic you think should be in a top 10 video and comment if you subscribe to this channel. 10 camel brigades. When the ancient world went to war, they always took along a few camels. The Persians, the Seleucids, the Greeks, and the Romans all rode on camels when conquering their foes, but the animals didn't disappear in the modern age. Camel warfare continued through the 20th century, and they fought in some pretty surprising places. In March 1855, the U.S. Congress passed the Shield Amendment, a bizarre bill which provided $30,000 for the War Department to buy camels. The idea was to use them in the deserts of the American Southwest. 33 dromedaries, as well as 3 Arabic and 2 Turkish trainers, were taken to Camp Verde, Texas, where they surveyed roads and explored the Big Bend. Eventually, they went to Fort Tejon, California, where they carried supplies and military dispatches. They even served as pack animals in the Civil War, and 80 of them were captured by Confederate troops. However, soldiers eventually got sick of the camels' bad smell and worse tempers, and they were released into the wilderness. Camels also saw action in World War I. The Imperial Camel Corps, made up of Brits, Australians, and New Zealanders, fought against the Turks in the Sinai Desert. However, these cameleers didn't fight from the saddle. Once the beasts were barracked, made to kneel down, one man would care for 16 camels at a time, allowing the other troops to fight on foot. Once the Allies reached the grassier terrain of northern Palestine, horses became more practical, and the majority of the ICC was disbanded in June 1918. But even today, camels are still putting their lives on the line as they help the Bedouin Desert Forces protect Jordan from smugglers and any other baddies who want to cross the border. 9. The legend of Red Ghost. After the U.S. military delivered its camels, the creature spread over the Southwest, inevitably vanishing by 1934. Nonetheless, every now and then, individuals actually guarantee to see the camels meandering somewhere out there, and the desert is loaded with creepy accounts of otherworldly camels like the Red Ghost and his undead rider. In 1883, an Arizona lady was found stabbed to death encompassed by bizarre footprints and abnormal red hide. Before long, 2 diggers stirred to locate a gigantic red animal remaining in their tent. A few close experiences later, individuals acknowledged they were managing a camel, however there was something agitating about the monster. Individuals guaranteed the Red Ghost conveyed a headless rider. Lamentably, the animal jogged away, and the 2 started frequenting the Arizona Badlands, however no one notices how he lost his head. In 1893, the camel was shot by an incensed rancher who couldn't have cared less for phantoms eating in his nursery. Be that as it may, when he assessed the cadaver, its rider was no more. Maybe it had tumbled off. In any case, right up till today, individuals actually guarantee they've seen the Red Ghost and the headless cameleer, meandering over the Arizona desert. 8. The wild Bactrians. The wild Bactrians of Eastern Asia are the only wild camels in the entire world. Sure, Australia is full of dromedaries, but they're feral rather than wild, and while there are plenty of domesticated Bactrians, these ones are a separate species that have never been tamed. Wild Bactrians are also among the toughest creatures in existence, perfectly adapted to survive in Mad Max-style post-apocalyptic badlands. Wild Bactrians only live in 2 places on the planet. Some are located in Mongolia's Great Gobi strictly protected area, which, by the way, is strictly protected, while the rest live on the Arjun Shanlop Nua Nature Reserve in China's Xinjiang province. This is pretty impressive considering the Chinese tested their nukes there in the 50s. It's basically an irradiated wasteland, but the camels don't mind. There isn't much fresh water in these regions, so these guys get by slurping from salty springs. That's right, these camels drink salt water. Even domesticated Bactrians won't touch the stuff. Sadly, wild Bactrians are even more endangered than the giant panda. As of 2010, there were at most 950 left in the wild, largely thanks to nature's oldest enemy, man. While the Gobi protected area is supposed to be human-free, miners ignore the no trespassing signs in their quest for gold, and when they get hungry, they kill a few camels. In Lop Nua, poachers place explosives around salty springs, and when the camels come in for a drink, boom goes the dynamite. Drought and wolves are also taking their toll, and scientists estimate the wild Bactrians will disappear in just a few years. Some conservationist groups hope to breed wild Bactrians with domestic ones to save the species, while others want to establish captive breeding programs to keep the bloodlines pure. Hopefully, they'll find a solution soon, so the wild Bactrian can keep on being the world's toughest camel. 7. The world's largest meal. You're probably fine with eating cows and chickens, but what about camels? The idea probably makes you nauseous, but in the Middle East, camel meat is a delicacy, and the hump is the best part. It's pretty much 100% fat, so it's nice and tender. However, it's important to eat your camels young as the old ones are pretty stringy. You don't have to travel to the Middle East for a camel snack though. Some British restaurants sell camel burgers, and since Australia is crawling with the critters, there's quite a market for camel meat. Restaurants serve camel sausage, mince, and steaks to hundreds of hungry Aussies. It's a win-win situation for everyone, except the camels, as their meat is healthier than beef and fewer camels helps preserve the Australian environment. Another place you'll find camel meat is in the Guinness Book of World Records. According to Guinness, the world's biggest meal, served at Bedouin wedding feasts, involves a roasted camel, and that's just one ingredient. First, cooked eggs are stuffed into fish, and then the fish are stuffed into chickens. The chickens are stuffed into a sheep, and finally the sheep is stuffed into a camel. Voila! The world's largest meal. Anyone hungry? 6 camels milk. Got camel milk? It may appear to be gross, however camel milk is astounding stuff. It's nearer to human milk than some other milk in nature, and it has multiple times more iron and multiple times more nutrients than bovine's milk. Also, in case you're lactose narrow-minded, you can drink it with no problems. Camel milk is served over the globe, and is appreciated by the rich and poor the same. The Ritz-Carlton in Abu Dhabi serves rich camel milkshakes, and this chili treat is famous with Muslims during Ramadan as it gives a lot of supplements to help them through their day-by-day quick. Kenyans likewise value a glass of camel milk, yet for them, it's a matter of endurance. East Africa has been battling with a ghastly dry spell, the most exceedingly terrible in 60 years, and ranchers are trading their steers for camels. Camel milk is likewise utilized for therapeutic purposes and has been for a very long time. In Kazakhstan, camel milk is utilized to treat tuberculosis, and African specialists use it to furnish nourishment to individuals with HIV/AIDS. As indicated by the Buccaneer Diabetes Care and Research Center, camel milk decreases the measure of insulin infusions required by diabetes patients, which is useful in nations where individuals can't bear the cost of expert treatment. So for what reason hasn't camel milk hit American recs? It used to be unlawful to sell camel milk in the US, however the FDA at long last okayed the refreshment in 2009. Be that as it may, the administration won't pay for testing, so it would appear that Americans should stand by somewhat longer before they can wash down their treats with rich, cold camel's milk. 5. The camel virus. Nobody wants to get sick, but catching a disease from a camel of all things? It doesn't get much worse than that. In 2012, a virus known as MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, appeared in Saudi Arabia and has since spread to other Middle Eastern countries like Qatar, Jordan, and the UAE. MERS has even made its way to Europe, infecting people in France, Italy, and the UK. Those unlucky enough to catch this coronavirus develop respiratory illness, which leads to fever, coughing, and difficulty breathing. At first, scientists weren't sure how some victims contracted MERS. They knew it was jumping from person to person, but they also found cases where patients hadn't been near a human carrier, leading them to conclude some unlucky animal was an unwitting host. But which one? Doctors experimented on livestock from various countries, testing them for antibodies. If the scientists discovered antibodies meant to fight spike, a protein in the coronavirus, then they'd found the source. It turned out that retired racing camels were the culprits. The camels were infected by bats and then spread the virus to their trainers. While MERS is no Black Death, it's pretty dangerous. As of October 25, 2013, 62 of the 144 infected had died. Hopefully scientists can develop a cure, or this camel virus might well end up making Captain Trips look like chicken packs. For the Camel Mobile Library. The area outside of Garissa, Kenya has the sad distinction of the highest illiteracy rate in the nation. While the national illiteracy rate is 31%, a depressing 85% of northeastern Kenyans can't read or write. The people in this region are mostly nomadic and many are destitute, so instead of buying books, they spend their time and money on food and shelter. Of course, without the ability to read, they're trapped in a vicious cycle of poverty. And that's where the Camel Mobile Library comes to the rescue. Formed by the Kenya National Library Service in 1996, the Camel Mobile Library provides books to students and adults in hard-to-reach places. Camels are well suited for the arid landscape, and they can haul quite a few paperbacks. Monday through Thursday, librarians set out with 3 camels apiece. The first camel hauls 2 boxes full of books, 200 in each. The second totes a tent, and the third carries anything else the librarian might need. The libraries visit 12 locations, which are always different as their patrons are nomadic, where they find children eagerly waiting to check out new books. Then they pack their wares and set off the next location, promising to return in 2 weeks. Students check out textbooks to study for their exams, and the library specifically provides books to correspond with what the kids are learning in school. They also provide books for adults learning to read and to those living in refugee camps. It's weird to think that people's lives are being changed for the better by these slobbery, humpbacked beasts. 3. Camel dung. In World War II. World War II soldiers used a variety of weapons, including machine guns, hand grenades, and camel poo? Surprisingly, camel droppings played a small but important role in the North African campaign. For some bizarre reason, German tank operators believed they'd have good luck if they drove over piles of camel poop. Once the Allies learned of this weird Nazi ritual, they started making mines that looked like camel dung. After a couple of panzers exploded, the Nazis figured out what was going on and started only running over dung that had already been plowed over by other vehicles. Once the Allies figured out their new good luck charm, they started building new dung mines, complete with tread marks. The British also found camel feces useful when it came to camouflage. When they mixed the droppings into their paint, it created the perfect color for disguising their gear. So when they weren't fighting Nazis, British soldiers spent their time following camels around with bags at the ready. While it might seem like the camels favored the Allies, they also aided the Axis powers. Dysentery was a major threat on the front lines, but the Nazis learned that local Africans had an effective cure: fresh camel droppings. Scientists discovered that the feces were filled with Bacillus subtilis, bacteria which killed the dysentery-causing germs. So since the Nazis didn't want to number 2 themselves to death, a horrible way to go, they decided to chow down on camel apples. Delicious. 2. Camel wrestling. Let's shift gears and talk about Tulus, woolly hybrids of the Bactrian and the dromedary. While Tulus might look fuzzy and huggable, they're actually hardcore athletes who practice the ancient martial art of camel wrestling, and every third Sunday in January, they battle along Turkey's Aegean coast. The camels are dressed in brightly colored cloths complete with pompons and wooden saddles. In addition to the outfits, they're given crazy names like Thunderbolt, Black Ali, and Jackal, or even Obama and Rambo. The day before the match, the Tulus are paraded through the streets, strutting their stuff while music plays. On the day of the fight, the camels are led into an amphitheater where wealthy fans make big bets and spectators buy camel sausages or commemorative shawls. When it's time to fight, the trainers pull the camels into each other, sparking an all-out war. If the camel falls to the ground, runs from the ring, or screams, he loses and the fight is over. Every camel has its own style. Some attack from the right and some from the left. Some trip their opponents, others use headlocks, and some try to sit on their enemy's head. However, biting is illegal, and there's always an umpire to make sure nobody's cheating. Most fights end with a tie, but when there's a winner, the owners get a beautiful carpet as a prize. While exciting, animal blood sports are inherently cruel. The government of Turkey also has problems with the event, although they're more embarrassed for the nation's image than the camel's well-being. But even though the sport's popularity is waning among the youth, there's still a loyal fan base, and in the wrestling community, champions, both owners and animals, are superstars on the level of Mike Tyson. Like all animal blood sports, this game has deep roots, and it probably won't go away anytime soon. 1. Camel beauty contests request that the vast majority depict a camel, and you may hear silly, appalling, or has a rich tobacco taste, yet you likely won't hear anybody state delightful. Not except if you're in the United Arab Emirates, that is. Consistently, a great many onlookers go to the Al Dhafra Camel Festival, and the greatest draw is the Camel Excellence Challenge. The event highlights more than 25,000 camels and draws in rulers and sheiks from over the locale. Champs bring home shiny new Chevy pickups and sell their camels for a huge number of dollars. Judges search for explicit characteristics in prize-winning camels. A portion of the attractive attributes incorporate floppy lips, a rich protuberance, decent hairs, great ears, a legitimate measure of room between the toes, tough legs, a long neck, and a huge head, the main part. Furthermore, to ensure everything is above board, you'll need to swear a strict vow promising to come clean about your animal's age and lineage. While the Al Dhafra Camel Festival may appear to be somewhat weird, it's huge to the Bedouin public. Their relationship with camels goes back to old occasions, and these challenges likewise encourage ancestral pride. Above all, these excellence challenges safeguard the bloodlines of thoroughbred varieties and shield old traditions from vanishing in the cutting-edge age. It's not actually Miss Universe, however in any event it has sincere goals.